Dickerson, co-founder and CEO of Artifacts. This is our third in our Artifacts for Professionals 5-part training series. Today's session is going to be all about pricing and selling artifacts as a service to help you grow and scale your business, generate more revenue, and if you have other employees, generate additional billable hours for you and your employees. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and get things started. As always, please feel free to pop any questions you have into chat. I'll be very happy to address those as we go throughout the session. And with that, let's get things started. Go into, there we go. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. So this session is dedicated to pricing and selling artifacts as a service. Before we jump into the nitty-gritty of business details and pricing models, which I may be pushing my luck with a late morning, early afternoon topic and crowd, I want us all to put ourselves in our clients' shoes. And this may be depending on if you're a photo manager, a move manager, a realtor, a mover, an insurance agent, an end-of-life professional, or an estate planner. Think for a moment about your client and what they're dealing with. Chances are it's going to look very similar to this. And we showed this cartoon at the very beginning of our series, but we didn't have the thought bubbles here. And typically when your client is faced with a situation like this, it could be themselves, it could be with their parent, it could be with their child. But typically these thought bubbles are what's going through their mind. First of all, what is all this? Sometimes the reaction is, no way, when's the dumpster coming? I am not dealing with this. Not my problem. And that maybe is when they call you, or they've already called you to help with this. Others may wonder, is any of this valuable? And still others may key on a very specific item. Maybe it's grandpa's baseball card collection that has them, really focused on. But the point is, just like no two businesses are the same, no two clients are the same. And every client is going to be coming at their stuff from a different perspective. So with today's session, we really want to help arm you with the tools and the business models to help you help your clients using artifacts and hopefully help them tackle situations like this, whether it's a overflowing garage or an attic or a basement, or simply just a lot of stuff that they don't know what to do with. How can we help? Starting at the macro level, before we dive into those business models and pricing structures, let's talk about how can you talk to your clients about using artifacts? How can you help make the case to them that by using artifacts will help them tackle their stuff? And again, stuff is a very broad category. It could be old photos. It could be family heirlooms. It could be kid art that you've accumulated from years and years of elementary and middle school. It could be stuff you've inherited. So again, it's a very wide-ranging topic, and some may say even problem, which is why you're all probably brought in to help your clients at one stage or the other. So how does artifacts help? Depending on what your business is, and what you're working with your client. One of the ways you can talk to your clients about artifacts is that you're going to help them keep the memories and lose the stuff. And I was hoping to have a special guest surprise for us this afternoon. Matt Paxton was going to join us live for a minute or two, but he is away on set filming for his latest TV show, so he's unable to join us. But he wrote an entire book titled just that, Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff. And that is why he uses artifacts, because it's a way to enable his clients to keep the memories with photo, audio, video, and then let go of the items. So when he's helping them downsize, they don't feel the guilt of, oh my gosh, I just got rid of the family dining room table. And although that dining room table seats 12, and there's no way it's going to fit in their 1-bedroom apartment where they're moving to in a senior retirement community, they still feel guilt over getting rid of it. But when they artifact it, they keep the memories, it eases the guilt and helps them part with the actual item. So that is one way to describe how artifacts can help your clients with the process they've hired you to help them with. If you're a professional organizer and you're helping clients get organized, you're helping them wrangle maybe all that kid art that's been accumulating under the bed, or maybe you're doing a closet clean out and your clients they've kept clothing for decades, even though it doesn't fit them. There's an emotional attachment to it. Or maybe it's you're helping them organize a collection of photos, inherited and photos that they've taken themselves. Artifacts can help instantly organize and document those valued items. Notice we didn't say valuable, and there's a difference there. Something may have financial value, and that's great. But often with artifacts, it's that heart value, the sentimental value that matters so much to our clients. So when we say valued here at Artifacts, we're talking about those, yes, could be financial values, but also the heart values. So with artifacts, again, you've learned from the past 2 sessions, clients can capture those items, can capture all the details, even weight and measurement. They can capture location. So where is this item located? Say you're working with them to organize holiday collections. Which bin is that ornament stored in? Or where is the box of Passover items or Hanukkah supplies? Whatever it happens to be, it helps them organize and document those valued items. And again, remember, you can help your clients fill in as many details or as few details as they want to provide. If you're working with clients who are employing your services, it could be for photo management and photo organization. It could be for end-of-life planning. It could be for a legacy project or a celebration of life. Artifacts can help families connect meaningfully with loved ones. If you remember from our session 2 in telling stories with compassion and care, we talked about how when you share those stories, you share those moments that haven't been told before. It's really powerful for families to connect and reconnect over those. So again, part of your business could be helping families or using artifacts to help families tell those stories in a safe and secure way. Our next way that how artifacts can help you help your clients, we call it the big overarching category, prepare for life. And this could be any number of instances. We even know realtors who've used artifacts, have gifted artifacts to clients. And the feedback from their clients was, oh my gosh, my insurance agent's been telling me for years to take an inventory. But when I was moving, it was the perfect time to document some of these items. And I got to add the stories, and it was really fun. So presto, you have not only a beautiful personal collection, but you now have an inventory of the valued items in your house. So when we say artifacts can help you help your clients prepare for life, that's just one example. It could be everything from moving to insurance, estate, financial planning, and end-of-life planning. But again, because it combines the stories with those critical details, and even possibly attaching those important documents to the individual artifacts, it helps your clients be more prepared. When I was at the Photo Managers Conference earlier this year, I was speaking with a photo manager who lives in a hurricane zone in the Florida Panhandle. And they said that when working with their clients, artifacts is a way that if you were sadly to lose your photo collection from flood or from fire or hurricane, you can't bring back, no amount of insurance money is going to bring back those photos, those treasured family heirlooms. But by being able to artifact them, it's helping the client keep what means most to them near and dear. So hopefully their clients never have to face a hurricane or the damage or loss after a hurricane. But if the worst happens, they're prepared. They're prepared for life. They're prepared for mayhem. Artifacts, again, can help you help your clients get prepared. Last but not least, and this applies mostly to those in estate planning, end of life, and after loss services segments, but it can help you help your clients provide a roadmap to their families to decide what happens next with all their stuff. If you remember from our first series on guided artifacting, we have that in the future field. So if you're sitting with clients, helping them artifact or going through the items and their artifacting as you organize or declutter, using the in the future field creates that priceless roadmap for their family. So they know what happens next. They're not stuck trying to figure out, what was this? Why did my loved one have it? And what am I supposed to do with it? And I would say that last bullet, as you get more, I think, adept at artifacting with your clients, or it becomes more of a habit, especially on the client's part. Even if you are a professional organizer or you're a photo manager and you're artifacting photos, take a moment to note, what do you want to happen to that item next? It's a great habit to get in as we think consciously about all of our stuff and where does it go and what happens. So that was a brief overview of why it matters, what your clients are looking at or thinking about when they're facing a room full, an attic full, a garage full of stuff, and then how we can help you help them. I want to now dive into kind of the business case. I know typically when I'm speaking at conferences or even on podcasts, oftentimes I get asked, well, why now? Why would a professional want to incorporate artifacts into their service offerings? So I wanted to kind of give you that ammunition as well, in case anyone ever asks you, well, why did you decide to start using artifacts now? When Ellen and I founded Artifacts, we took a very overarching view at kind of all the different trends that were happening, social trends, product trends, and also technology. And we took a hard look at what tools are out there, and then what can artifacts do to fill some of those gaps. So I want to quickly just dive into kind of those three core areas when we find talking with our members who ask us questions. I wanted to highlight some of those items for you all to have essentially as talking points when you're working with your clients. So on the social trend side, we don't think much about it, but we all carry around these essentially mini supercomputers in our back pocket, AKA our cell phones. And we as humans have developed a snap and share habit. It's really easy for us to think nothing of taking a photo and then sharing it. Even if you're not on social media, maybe you're sharing it via text message or email. We also, I think, coming out of COVID, have an increased desire for connection. And we do a lot of work. One side of Artifacts, outside of our Artifacts for Professionals, is working with our partners at AARP and also working with those in the mental health arena and brain health. And we know there are facts and figures out there that show coming out of COVID, we want to feel connected. We want to feel something part of being something larger than us. We want to feel closer with family and friends. And that's just an overarching social trend. And Artifacts plays really nicely into that because, again, you're quickly snap and share, and you have a new story untold. You have a new item. I never knew that about you before. We also, on the social trend side, know from working with our professional organizers, even interior designers and move managers, movers, and realtors, that folks are thinking small again. We had during the 90s and early 2000s, we had McMansions. We had an upsizing and upscaling. And now, partly because of demographic changes, but also I think conscious consumerism, people are thinking tiny again. It doesn't have to be minimalist at its core, but people are rethinking what they have and why they have it. And they're discussing it from the Wall Street Journal to the New York Times to evening news, even bloggers and on social media with influencers. People are reconsidering the stuff that we have and the space that we occupy. And then, of course, one of the better trends we've seen coming out, especially accelerated post-COVID, is upcycling. There's increased, I think, awareness of the environmental factor of all of our stuff. So those are some of the social trends. And depending on what line of business you're in and what interest your clients have, any number of those could be ways to start talking about artifacts or understanding how artifacts fits into their worldview. On the technology side, this is the part where, and I think you've probably all seen this in your businesses with the different technology you've used. Technology has increased leaps and bounds, especially post-COVID. We all now are digital natives. We're comfortable online and in person and hybrid. For the most part in Western society, especially in the US, we are hyper connected. Internet connectivity has never been better across the US, and I'd even say in most parts overseas as well. Again, we have these high-res cameras sitting in our pockets, and there's been very broad QR code adoption. All factors that play, I think, well into the technology we've utilized at Artifacts to make it easier and more seamless to capture, preserve, and share those history, stories, memories, and value behind all that stuff. And on the product trend side, I think any of us just need to flip open, our favorite news media channel or read our favorite blogger or even scroll through social media. And you're inundated with, it's all about stories. There's even companies with the story name in their name, multiple companies, but stories have taken our attention front and center. It's a way to have authenticity. And it's a way to also go back to social trends, build connections. There's also an increasing trend of not just taking analog digital, but taking digital analog. So being able to essentially navigate those two, what's physically here in front of me, but also what's digitally here stored on my phone and vice versa. And that's the beauty of artifacts. Unlike some of the NFT trends that existed or still exist, artifacts are still linked to an actual physical item. You have clients that can still display the items, like the items I have behind me. Those are all artifacted items. So yes, I have the physical item. Yes, I have my QR code sticker on the back of each item. So something happens to me tomorrow, my family knows what it is, why I have it. But I can also easily, when I'm out and about and I want to tell a story, I can share the artifact, or I can pull it up and share the additional photos. It's all right here. So again, going back to being able to organize and share, that is one of the product trends for the digital and analog spaces. Another product trend are the affordable custom books, framing, and art. Again, people are focusing a lot on the stuff and the memories. And that's another way, depending, maybe you're a photo manager, you've made this beautiful photo book for a client. That's awesome. The photos can't talk though. Add more dimension and detail to that photo book by including the artifacts QR code stickers in the book. Or if it's an after production add-on, pop it on the back. Or simply have the client then create the artifacts of the photos and add video, add audio, add all those details. If you're working with a client, maybe you've helped them get organized. And again, we'll go back to that kid art example, because you can see I've got a bunch behind me. You pay money to frame it. Fabulous. It's a finger painting in a frame. What does that mean? Why was it so important to frame it? This is a great time to add in artifacts. It could take as little as a few minutes, but by artifacting that finger painting, there's now a story connected to it that's more apt to last for generations. So those are all when we think about kind of the business case for why adding artifacts into your business, why now, why it makes sense. And these are also different examples when you're talking with the client and they start talking about technology or maybe some of the social things that they're seeing, or even different products and things that they're wanting to buy or use, ways you can incorporate the discussion about artifacts. All right. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty. And as a former CFO, I think if you know me, I could talk all day about numbers. I promise you, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make this very, hopefully high level, but yet very applicable. If anyone wants to have an individual conversation about exact numbers and pricing, I'm happy to do that offline. You can email me Heather at artifacts.com. That's HEATHER at artifacts, ARTIFCTS.com. Happy to engage in those specific discussions. But for this session, I want to review kind of 5 different case studies, for lack of a better word, or 5 different business models, depending again on what type of business you have. As I noted at the beginning, every client is different. The same goes for every business. I bet if we were to open up discussion, we would find that we all have entirely different businesses and business models. And that's great. I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur, is that there's a lot of creativity and flexibility there. But that also means that for the next 5 business models or 5 use cases, you may find 2 or 3 that apply to your business, or maybe just 1. But I do want to share how others have incorporated artifacts into their business. We have compiled these business models based on our long discussions with current artifacting professionals. The data and bullet points we've included for each business model is based on their feedback and based on us understanding how they're approaching the artifacting process with their clients. And we hope this will be helpful for you as you think about pricing and selling artifacts as a service. So the first one, and I've tried to, on this slide, these are kind of essentially from least level of effort up to essentially most level of effort. But on the low level of effort side, it's artifacts is essentially sold as an a la carte service. And what people do in this position is that typically you'll charge your standard hourly rate. So if you're a professional organizer and you charge by the hour, or you're a photo manager and you charge by the hour, or any other profession that charges by the hour, this would be no different, but you would add an hourly rate for the time spent artifacting. We have learned from these professionals, typically it's 4 to 8 hours they will add in for the artifacting process. When talking about organizers, one of the organizers we spoke with that does the a la carte model, she specifically handles kid stuff. And it could be kid artwork, kid schoolwork, kid projects, kid bedrooms, kid play spaces, you name it. Kids take up a lot of stuff. And she found sometimes that when working with clients early on with artifacting, what she thought was going to be maybe 2 hours to go through a bin of artwork and artifact that artwork, because the parents really got into the storytelling and the memories and the reminiscing, that a bin of artwork actually ended up taking 4 hours or 6 hours or whatever that happened to be. So for her and her business model, the a la carte model made sense. And she typically spends between 4 and 8, or she can typically count on between 4 and 8 hours of artifacting, charging her hourly rate when dealing with those types of projects. Another member that we spoke with is a photo manager who does the a la carte model. And what they will do is that after they've made a photo book, or they've organized, say, 10,000 photos, or typically it's not that many, maybe it's several thousand to start, they'll sit with the client and say, great, we're now going to pick kind of your top 10 or your 10 favorites. Or you don't have to put a number to it, but sometimes putting a number to it really does help bound the level of effort. But they'll sit down and artifact those 10 favorites. And they have learned over time that, say, if you're going to do 10 to 12 photos, it's, typically maybe it's 4 hours, because as the client gets going and talking and reminiscing, again, the stories take a while to come out. Or it may be a very long story that comes out right away, but it's still a long story. But that's the a la carte model. Typically, the professionals who use the a la carte model, they have, as far as how do they actually get artifacts into their clients' hands. We've heard 2 different approaches with this model. First is that they'll tell the client, great, we're going to do artifacting as part of this project. Here is the link, go purchase an account. So they'll have the client purchase the account themselves. Alternatively, the professional member will purchase the account for the client and add it as a line item on their invoice. So it could go either way. And I think that's partly kind of your preference, or how you typically work with clients. If you're using other software with them, are you charging them? Are you purchasing it and setting it up for them, and then you charge them on their invoice? Or do you tell them, we're going to be using this software or this product, you need to go buy it yourself or acquire it, and then we'll use it together. So I think there's a lot of flexibility there, but that a la carte model probably is the easiest way to integrate and to start using Artifacts if you want to test it with your clients. The next level up, when you think about kind of overarching level of efforts, is bundled services. And we've worked with, in this category, is a lot of professional organizers, move managers, some photo managers, typically for much larger projects, be it maybe a photo gallery, organizing plus a photo gallery. It could also be end-of-life professionals planning a celebration of life or working with a client on a legacy project. The bundled services are a great way if you're giving your client a price for a project versus simply charging an hourly rate. Bundled services is a great way to incorporate artifacts. So how does that work? So when you're presenting your proposal to your client for the project you're working on, you build the price of the Artifacts membership into that proposal. So whether it's Artifacts Unlimited or Artifacts Lite, you put in the cost of the membership. You then determine how much time you're going to spend with the client. And this is the part where I was at a NAPO meeting a couple weeks back. We had a local NAPO meeting in Washington, D.C. And one of the conversations we had was about setting boundaries. And sometimes when you're putting together a project proposal, you allocate 4 hours for a task. If a client wants to, they're loving it, they want to keep doing more, that's great, but we're at our 4 hours. I'll have to add on time or charge you additional fee for the added time. But sorry, a bit of a tangent, but bundled services, you build the cost of the Artifacts membership into the package or the proposal you're building for the client. You then decide how many hours Artifacts will be as part of that project. And this again depends. It depends on what you're doing with the client, what line of business you're in. I can share from we have a lot of folks who are professional move managers, including Matt Paxton. So Matt Paxton will typically allocate 8 to 10 hours per family he works with just for artifacting. And it's one of the first things he does with the families to get them into the mindset of, okay, I have to deal with my stuff. And in his instance, by artifacting it, especially the ones that have those emotional heartstring memories and value, it becomes easier for the families to let go of the items that aren't going to make the cut when downsizing if they've already been artifacted. So I think this is probably a big question for the size and the scope of the project. But for bundled services, we typically hear from our professional members that they are able to add anywhere from a half day to 2 or more days, depending on the project. And you add in the time, the same way you build out your priced package or proposal for the core of what you're doing for your client. You add in the artifacts time, and you submit the proposal or the package to the client. Everything is included. Unlike a la carte, there's no separate invoice line items. It's simply part of the package. The next item I want to jump to is subscription services. This is one of, I think, when I first started hearing testimonials from professionals who are using artifacts. When I was at conferences, they come up to me and be like, oh my gosh, you would never believe what happened. When we set out to build artifacts, Ellen and I knew that artifacts would be a subscription service. I don't think we fully realized the potential for artifacts to be a subscription service for our professional members. And it wasn't until the past year or so that we started hearing these stories. And the stories typically go like this. It could be a move manager or a professional organizer who sat down with a client and artifacted as part of the project. So either a la carte or bundled services. In the move manager case, when the client is now moved into their new home, be it retirement community, be it assisted living, whatever it happens to be, we've heard from multiple different move managers, they're now getting calls back from clients to ask them to come back and artifact with them. They had so much fun doing it, they want to do more of it. Now that they're moved in and settled, they would love to do it with their move manager, which for us, when we first heard that, we thought that was fabulous. Because typically in move management, once the move is done, you're done with the client. Hopefully they're going to refer you to their friends, refer you to family, but you're typically not getting called back for another move right away. But with artifacting, the clients are calling them back saying, hey, that was really great. But now that I have all my stuff here, the things that I'm keeping, let's do more of this. And sometimes clients can't remember what it was actually called. So we heard a very funny story at the NASM conference last November, where the client called back and said, I want to do more of that storytelling with that app. That was so much fun. So either they can't remember the name, they remembered what you did with them, and they call you back for recurring services. On the, again, photo management or organizing side, this is a great way where if you have ongoing organizing sessions with your client, to be able to have artifacts as that touch point. It becomes a habit and something to look forward to doing with you at your next session. This also, the subscription services part, kind of that recurring revenue piece, it's great when you're working with a client on a larger legacy project. If you're helping a client tell their story over generations, or maybe it's a multi-generational family legacy project, artifacting is a great tool to add on. And it could be a monthly or a quarterly session you're working with the client there. It's also, I mentioned before, the organizing and decluttering piece. It's a great way to, again, have that touch point to be back working with the client. As far as pricing subscription services goes, this is really, again, it's going to, I think, depend on how you bundle those services. If you're doing a la carte for the follow-on work, or you bundle the services such as the client gets a quarterly or a monthly session. Again, depends on your business and how you're approaching your client. But the important piece here to know is that artifacting professionals have had success getting recurring revenue using artifacts as the tool. All right, that was a lot. Next slide, I want to talk about gifting. This is a different way to incorporate artifacts. And it may not be, I think, the first way that comes to mind, but we've heard from our professionals in the realtors, movers, others that are thinking of unique gifts to give to clients to keep them engaged. A big part of the gifting experience is that you can do branded gifting on artifacts. And we went over this in session 1, guided artifacting. But when you choose to gift artifacts to your clients, rather than have them purchase their own account, if you recall, you get your logo there and, gifted to you by. So every time you log into their artifacts account, they're going to see and be remembered that you gave them this account. So we broke gifting down into 2 separate components when thinking about how you work or how your business operates. And because not knowing what the event or what the trigger point would be, we just called it pre-X and post-X gifting. But it could be pre-move and post-move. It could be pre-life event or post-life event. Again, depending on how close you are with your clients. I've heard from colleagues in the professional organizing industry is that when their clients have big life events, like maybe a wedding or the birth of a child or a grandchild, they'll send a gift. That could be a post-life event gifting moment. We've worked with realtors who, when they first get contacted by a client or prospective client, they'll gift artifacts as part of the, hey, this is great. You're thinking about selling your house? Fabulous. Let's start artifacting to make that whole move process even easier. And now with sometimes the longer lag times that takes to sell a house due to our economic circumstances, artifacting can be a great way to kind of keep your client engaged and always kind of see your brand front and center and be reminded that, hey, this is great. My realtor gifted me this, and it's really fun. So let's go through the pre-X and post-X gifting and just fill X in. It's basically fill in the blank with your business. But in both cases, branded gifting. If you're gifting before an event, it can help motivate the client to take action. Some professional organizers will even send out the artifacts gift ahead of their first session. Going back to the kid art example again, because it's an easy one and one that I can definitely relate to with the little one in the house. It's a great way to get clients to focus and to think through like, all right, this is what I want to work on, or these are the key pieces I really want to keep and artifact and work with my organizer on. Gifting before the event can also help build excitement. It's kind of like that teaser ahead of you actually getting there. Of course, this all depends on how technologically savvy or engaged your clients are. But that's, again, no two clients are alike, just like no two businesses are alike. On the post-event gifting side, it can help stay in touch. And this is a great way. It's kind of like it leaves it out there to hopefully down the road, recurring revenue, them calling you back to have you help them with this process. It can also be a kind of post-event, can be seen as a very thoughtful gift, especially if you're dealing with the stuff space. And we don't want to be contributors to that overflowing garage or overflowing attic. Artifacts can be a great gift because it's not more stuff. You're actually helping your clients tackle the stuff. One thing that we thought was really interesting, we had a reverse mortgage broker reach out to us and purchase a bulk number of accounts to gift to clients after they've closed a reverse mortgage. And he was working mostly with folks age 55 plus out on the West Coast. And he said it was fabulous because he always felt guilty giving them another object when they're trying to eventually downsize and long-term sell their home, that he thought that this was great because it kept them in the mindset of always making progress while also helping them preserve and share the memories with their families. So there's two examples of kind of pre-event and post-event gifting. And even if you decide artifacts is not a core part of your business model, the gifting piece could be a unique way to utilize the benefits of artifacts to help your clients, regardless of kind of where they are in life with whatever transitions or stages they're dealing with. All right. So what are some of the things we have readily available, completely free and easy to use for you all as you get started with artifacts? We've heard time and again from professionals that they absolutely love our checklists. Whether you are using artifacts a la carte, whether you're bundling it, whether you're doing recurring services or even gifting it, checklists are an awesome place to start. And if you recall from our first session, you can you can access the checklist from our website. If you go to the inspiration tab, open the inspiration tab, and then scroll down to the giant yellow box that says free checklists. They're all right there. We have at this point, I think, 16 checklists and counting. But anyway, so pick any checklist, depending on what your client or what you're being asked to help your client with. If you look at our checklists, they span from collections to baby, to home, to old photos, to work life, to infamous or famous firsts, travel, decluttering. We even have a checklist for pets because we've heard from photo managers and organizers that not only do pets take up a lot of space in people's camera reels, they also take up a lot of space in people's houses. So if you have a topic or a project, chances are there's an artifacts checklist for that. You can utilize the checklist to give clients homework ahead of time, get them thinking about the stuff you've been working with them on. You can use the checklist as a tool to kind of pick up where you left off. You can also, we've had some folks in the legacy space when working on a larger project for their clients, they use the checklist essentially to guide almost chapters of that legacy project. Each checklist becomes a working session with that client. So I think there are no bounds to how you use the checklist. You can get as creative as you want, but they are fabulous resources. And we have heard from across different professional categories, each checklist is roughly half a day of billable hours, just to give you a sense and scope of kind of what that entails. Of course, again, if you have clients who get really, really into it and love telling stories, you may be there longer than half a day, unless, of course, you set those boundaries, or they may call you back. But roughly each checklist is equivalent to about a half day of billable hours. And the checklist are really is a fun way to kind of ease them into artifacting. We talked about earlier that digital and that analog. You can print off the checklist. They have that copy. They have that hard copy. You have it. They have it. There's even, they can literally check off the boxes as they go. But they also, of course, have the digital copy here as well. So checklists are a great way to get started. If in your professional businesses, if you wish we have a checklist and we don't have it yet, let us know, please. Some of our more recent checklists, such as school days and weddings and sports collections, sports memorabilia, were inspired by professionals asking for a checklist as they had a client that had, a big project in that theme. So please feel free, don't hesitate to reach out. If there's some way we can help you with a checklist we haven't yet built, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. All right, stop share. Let me reshare. I want to quickly just show all of you where the checklists are on the webpage, just in case. But like I was saying before, they are, if you hover over inspiration, come down on the checklist, and here are the entire list. We even have a tech detox. If you're helping a client declutter a study or declutter bins and bins of old technology, there may be some gems in there they're keeping because of sentimental reasons, like an old Game Boy or that BlackBerry. Yes, I'm guilty. I still have my BlackBerry and I artifacted it. Papered is one of our newer checklists and people love it, especially if you're helping a client declutter. Paper is a really great decluttering target. But anyways, these are all the checklists. They're free, downloadable. They are great resources for you as you're working with clients. Unshare the screen again, and then pop up the last slide that we have, which I wanted to deal with our questions to ask. And I'm not sure what happened to the presentation I was on. Here we go. Let's reshare again. I do want to ensure that you have sometimes asking clients the questions or a right question can really get them to open up about what they are or want to be artifacting. So questions that work. And again, no two clients are the same. No two businesses are the same. We've heard from professional organizers, move managers, and also interior designers. Sometimes one of their favorite questions to ask a client when they start artifacting is, what is the favorite moment in your home? And organizers can ask this because if you're called in, and maybe home is too broad, if you're called in to say work on the bedroom, what is the favorite moment in the bedroom? And that can help you understand a lot about kind of your client, like what preferences, likes, dislikes, and oftentimes a really good story about a really cool object. Same thing for downsizing. Asking that question may help you understand what's really critical for them to take with them. And is there a story behind it? Great target for artifacting. On the estate planning and the end of life and the after loss and legacy project side, what is the why for the item you're passing down? And my co-founder has this hysterical story about this Buddha statue that her father has bequeathed to my co-founder's sister. And my co-founder's father is Buddhist, her sister is atheist. And at first when it happened, there was a bit of family discord because why should the sister cart around a 50-pound Buddha statue when she's atheist? Their dad shared the story and why he was giving her the Buddha statue. And from that day forward, that statue has become a cherished object, a cherished moment for my co-founder's sister, and definitely a family heirloom for her. So sometimes it's that why. When you connect the why to the actual object, that can be really, really powerful. But those are just two examples of questions to ask that might work. If you're not using a checklist, if that approach does not work for you or your clients, sometimes those open-ended questions. We also, from last session on the capturing and preserving stories with compassion and care, We included a lot of questions in that session too. There's the 5 W's, kind of the who, what, when, where, and why. And then of course with artifacts, when you go into the story field, we always have those prompts and those questions there as well. So sometimes asking the question is a great way to start the artifacting process if the checklists don't work for you and your client. So with that, I want to say again, thank you for joining us for our 3rd session. I'd be very happy to take any questions you all have. As always, this recording will be made available to you as part of our training resource library. I'll also include the slides in the recording link as well, since they're all clickable and readily accessible. And I will pause for a moment for any questions before we end today's session. If you've got questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. We will also be doing, once the entire 5-part training series wraps up in a couple of weeks, we'll be hosting monthly Q&A sessions, essentially office hours, for all of our professional members. So as you start artifacting with your clients, if questions arise at that point, you'll have a resource to go to ask. We also, just a reminder, we have a really robust FAQ section on our website and in our app. It's a great resource if you ever get stuck or you're just wondering like, hey, how does this work? FAQs are a great resource. And then we also have our YouTube channel. And I'll put the link for the YouTube in here as well. And then absent any questions, we will conclude. So let me grab the link to the YouTube channel that has our tips and tricks video. That's another great resource and something you can also share with clients. If you have clients who aren't sure about artifacting, we have a lot of videos on our channel, and you can pick the one that relates best.
This pipe was custom built for me.
There we go. Let me grab that. Pop that into chat as well. All right, we've got a question about pricing and referrals. Have you heard anything about referrals and ideas on pricing that? So we have heard that some, and I've only heard from the photo managing side. I've not heard about, actually I take the back, sorry, photo managing and organizing. People have gotten referrals because the clients have contacted them to do a project. And then the clients have already heard about Artifact and they've asked their professional photo manager, organizer, do you do artifacting? And either the answer is no, or they're too busy, or whatever the question is, they can refer to someone else who does. To date, what I am aware of is that the referral is essentially between kind of the two professional, be it organizers or photo managers, and whatever they work out in common. For us at Artifacts, we typically refer out to the national association. So NASM, NAPO, and the photo managers. And when people come to us asking, I live in, say Chicago, I'm looking for a photo manager, we send them over to the photo manager website and tell them to search in the directory. And that way we're not playing favorites with any one particular professional. We're giving our members access to resources that they need to make informed decisions, but we're also supporting the professional organizations at the national level. And we do try to, though, if there's something you would like us to build out with Artifacts professionals about referrals, we're very, very happy to take that into consideration. If it'd be useful to have a referral page or referral tab on Artifacts professionals, again, we want to make this as useful for you all. So we're happy to look at that. Hopefully that helped address the question. Great. You're welcome, Paula. Any other questions, folks? We will be, when the training concludes, when the 5-part series concludes, there will, at that point, we'll be unveiling our new Artifacts Professionals portal, and there'll be downloadable resources for you all. There'll be a badge I'm an Artie Pro, so Artifacts Professional user. You'll also we'll have social media assets we'll essentially make available to you all for kind of every quarter on different themes and topics, but ways that you can get people thinking about stuff, because that's really our goal. Ellen and I are on a mission to ensure that people are able to truly cherish and value the things they want to keep, and they don't feel guilty over the things they aren't able to keep or no longer want to keep. We want to ensure that stuff, it does matter, and stuff can't talk, and stories are lost, or value is lost. We want to make sure that doesn't happen. So even if you're not using artifacts with every client, it's okay. We want to give you resources to help you have that conversation with clients writ large about the stuff, about the stories, about the value, and really hopefully get people to think big picture. What does this mean? Why is it important? So there'll be an entire, we relaunched the Artifacts for Professionals, or not relaunch, but revamp, add resources to it. There'll be an entire section for you all with downloadables you can use to engage in that conversation. Great. I'm not seeing any additional questions, so I'm going to say thank you all for joining us this afternoon or this morning, depending where you're joining us from. I really appreciate your time. Stay tuned. Next Tuesday, as usual, Artifacts for Professionals. We'll be tackling how to troubleshoot the most common questions asked by your clients. And we'll review kind of all of those tools, like actual tools in the app and on the website to help you troubleshoot client questions. And we'll do a deep dive into some of those product and technology related FAQs to ensure that you're able to swiftly and easily answer some of the more difficult questions. So with that, thank you so much. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us. Take care and happy artifacting.